I consider, one of the biggest blessings in my life the fact that I have incredible aunts and uncles. They were a big part of my life, and a lot of the person I am today is because of my aunts and uncles, and I will always be grateful. And I know my sisters feel the same way, and I think our cousins feel the same way on that as well. So for you guys, we're so grateful to you, and Uncle Angelo, Auntie Mary, Aunt Marie, and Auntie Jo are all very special to us, and we will always be grateful for all that you've done for us.
And Con.
And Con.
We feel the same way
That's
about
right.
you, Les.
And Auntie Jo was right in the middle of all that. And in terms of looking at my aunts and uncles, people who are critical parts of our growing up and just who I am today as a person. And so I'm just going to say a few brief qualities about Auntie Jo that I admire, and I think that others in here would also admire. And so the first thing I want to focus on, and I think anyone who knows Auntie Jo, this is one of the first things that comes to mind, I think, it's just her work ethic. Auntie Jo, I think when I was in the early 1970s, when you're a kid growing up, one of the most popular TV commercials was an ad, I think it was for a perfume, and there was a woman coming out and she'd say, "I bring home the bacon, I fry it up in a pan." And there was all the lyrics. But that phrase, that's right. That was like an iconic commercial from a kid growing up in the early 1970s. But the target demographic for that ad was Auntie Jo's generation. If you were a woman that was born in the 1930s or the 1940s, back then, roles have changed a lot in our society for the better between the male and female relationships. But back then, you were expected to do it all. You ran the house, you took care of the kids, and you worked. And so, the idea that was the expectation that was put on women from that era. And I think as a kid, you don't know any better. You just realize, your mom's here or your aunt's all doing this for you. But the demands that we put on women back then were unbelievable. And so Auntie Jo, I think, embodies that work ethic from that period as much as anybody, because she did do it all. She really did.
Took care of her parents.
Took care of her parents. Yeah. And really, so her work ethic was remarkable to me. And I think, there's a saying that 20% of the people in a company or in an organization, do 80% of the work. And Auntie Jo, throughout her life, would always be in that 20%, without a doubt. And so your work ethic is unbelievable. So thank you, Auntie Jo.
Yeah.
And I think another key trait about Auntie Jo that I think, and this is true for all of her siblings as well, but definitely with Auntie Jo, and that is her character. We live in a society today where character and virtue is very much underappreciated. In terms of how you live your life. You living your life as an honorable person, trying to do the right thing. And I think, Jo Fisichella, from the very beginning of her life, all the way through this period of her life, has always tried to do the right thing.
And stood up for what she believed in.
Stood up for what she believes in, but tries to do the right thing. She sees a wrong, she tries to make it right. And those people in our society, to be honest with you, they're uncommon. They're uncommon. And I think, she's not someone who cut corners. She wouldn't look for the shortcut to something, to do something right. If Auntie Jo was going to do it, it would be done well. You can count on her to do that. And I think her character, her integrity is impeccable. And I think you see her character embodied, in her two kids. Alan and Arlene are two highly respected people in their field, amongst major players in their respective industries, and as talented as they both are, they also have impeccable character. The kind of people they are, they contribute to their communities. They're just strong people with backbones. And I think, it's a credit to both of them, but it's also a credit, Auntie Jo had a major role in helping make that happen. And so to me, that's one of your biggest legacies are your kids. And I think she should be extremely proud of that, to see her character embodied in her kids. And then the third quality is something I think is, again, underappreciated in our society very much. And this one I thought about a bit more, because how do you capture this? And I think that the quality of Auntie Jo that is really admirable to me throughout her life has been her faithfulness. And by faithfulness, I mean, being loyal to people, being reliable, someone you can always count on to be there, to be in your corner, to be, if she says she's going to be someplace, she's going to be there, to follow through on things when she's just going to follow through on things. Like, that is such a remarkable character trait, to be faithful, and faithful to her family, a faithfulness to her family, both her siblings, to her parents, to her nieces and nephews, to her own kids, faithful to her co-workers. I mean, Auntie Jo worked at some big-time jobs throughout her career, for a generation where we didn't encourage women. We kind of put all these different pressures on women to achieve. She was a high achiever in her career, and her co-workers knew she was a go-to person, right? She could count on her. If Auntie Jo says she's going to deliver on this, she would deliver on it. So faithful to her co-workers, but and also had a faithfulness to her community. She wasn't someone who just sat at home and let the world pass her by. She got engaged in things. She was involved in growing up, kids in North Andover, as an adult there, homeowner. She was very active in the community in a multitude of ways, made a difference there, faithful to her community. And so again, incredibly admirable trait and an uncommon trait in our society, Auntie Jo.
Right.
And then, so the last thing I guess we'll just kind of wrap it up with this is, we, have someone with you, Auntie Jo. We're so fortunate that you've been a part of our life. We're so thankful for the sacrifices you've made for all of us. I know your kids would feel this way, but your nieces and nephews, your siblings, we're so grateful for all the sacrifices you made for us. The selflessness, the selfless love, the financial, all the gifts. Never forgets a birthday. Shows up to every family event, cooking amazing food that will always be, may we all do be able to have that capacity. Thank you for all of that. And we will always be grateful. You'll always be in our hearts. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Hey. Are you going to read happy birthday?
What?
Start it. Happy birthday. Come on.
You want to say anything?
Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Auntie Jo. Happy birthday to you. Hey!
Say a few words myself, if I can bring myself to do it. I have been very grateful my whole life having a family that always looked out for each other, always helped each other, and we always had wonderful holidays together with my mom, my dad, and all my family and the extended family. And then as we moved on to our own lives, we still always got together. We were at the beach, at the cottage, and we just had a wonderful time growing up in my era. And I had a father who worked day and night, 7 days a week, and he supported us to the highest extent that we could possibly live. We had a wonderful life. We lived in a beautiful home in Methuen with a lot of land, and we just had a wonderful childhood. And I remember them fondly for that life that they gave us. And as I grew older and I had my own children, I still had my extended siblings. Although I miss my sister Connie. I think of her often. I'm sorry she's not here. She was only 16 months older than I. So my mother and dad raised us like twins. And so when she passed, it was very difficult. And I think of her often. I see her lovely family before me. And she missed the whole growing up stages, their accomplishments, and I feel so badly about that because she would have been so proud. And so to end it all, I just want to say I'm so grateful for all of you coming here today and being here with me. And I miss CJ. Please give her my best when you get home. And I thank you all for coming. It has been a lovely day for me. I will never forget. I'm leaving the end of the month to move to Savannah with my to be with my children, and I'm looking forward to that. Although I hate leaving my beautiful New England and all my family here, but I hope if you're ever in Savannah, you will certainly look me up and come and visit me. I would love to have company anytime. God bless you all, and thank you for coming.
God bless you.
Hey, God bless you. Hey, Joe. All right.